Remember those days when Saturday mornings were all about cartoons, cereal, and backyard adventures? When life felt slower, simpler, and somehow more magical? Those moments weren't just days on a calendar. They were pieces of who we are, stitched together by laughter, family, and the little things we didn't realize would one day become treasures. And today, before we open that photo album of time, we need to pause and say thank you. Because Retro Nest has just reached 1,000 subscribers, and this milestone isn't just ours, it's yours. Every memory you've shared in the comments, every like, every moment you've spent watching, you've helped create this family of nostalgia lovers who believe the past deserves to be remembered. So to celebrate, we've prepared something truly special, a journey through 50 forgotten treasures that shaped generations, sparked imaginations, and slowly faded away, leaving behind memories that still make us smile. From soda fountains to vinyl crackles, from neighborhood arcades to drive-in theaters, this is our gift to you. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's step back into a world that once was. 1. Drive-in theaters. Before streaming and multiplexes, the drive-in theater was the ultimate weekend escape. Families packed into their cars with blankets, snacks, and excitement, ready to watch the latest movies under the stars. The charm wasn't just the film, it was the experience of sitting in your own car, sharing laughter, and sneaking bites of candy from the back seat. Drive-ins thrived in the 1950s and 60s, but began disappearing as land values soared and home entertainment grew. Still, the nostalgia of honking horns and giant outdoor screens stays alive in memories. 2. Rotary phones. There was something oddly satisfying about dialing a number on a rotary phone. Each turn of the dial required patience, a small ritual that connected us to the person on the other end. These phones were everywhere, kitchens, offices, and living rooms, and they symbolized communication in a simpler age. Eventually, push-button phones and mobile devices made them obsolete, but the memory of that click-clack rhythm evokes a slower, more deliberate time. 3. Polaroid cameras. Before smartphones captured every moment, Polaroid cameras gave instant gratification in a way that felt magical. You'd snap a picture, wait a few seconds, and watch it develop in your own hands. Kids, families, and friends loved the immediate memento, often scribbling notes on the white borders. The convenience and novelty made them iconic, but as digital photography rose, Polaroid's magic faded, though the tactile joy remains unforgettable. 4. Classic arcade machines. Arcades were the heartbeat of the 1980s and early 90s. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Space Invaders weren't just games, they were arenas of competition, laughter, and small victories. Teens would crowd around machines, challenging each other while quarters clinked in the coin slots. As home gaming consoles improved, arcades slowly vanished, leaving only memories of neon lights, electronic beeps, and the smell of popcorn. 5. Vinyl records and turntables. There's nothing like the warm crackle of a vinyl record spinning on a turntable. Music lovers cherished the tactile experience, sliding the needle, flipping the album, reading liner notes. These records weren't just music, they were art and ritual, shared between friends or families. The rise of cassettes, CDs, and streaming pushed vinyl aside for decades, but in their heyday, they defined the sound of a generation. 6. Jukeboxes in diners. Step into a 1950s diner, and chances are you'd spot a shiny jukebox glowing in the corner. For a few coins, you could play your favorite song while sipping a milkshake or sharing a burger. Jukeboxes weren't just machines, they were conversation starters and entertainment hubs. Their popularity waned with the spread of home music systems and digital playlists, yet their iconic neon glow remains etched in retro imagery. 7. Classic lunchboxes. Metal lunchboxes adorned with superheroes, cartoon characters, or rock stars were a staple of school days. They weren't just containers, they were status symbols, conversation pieces, and collectible treasures. Kids would proudly carry them to school, trading stickers and stories. Plastic and disposable containers eventually replaced them, but the sight of a classic tin lunchbox still sparks childhood memories. 8. Pull-chain toilets. Yes, they existed, and they were oddly elegant. Pull-chain toilets were common in the early 20th century, often in public buildings and older homes. The tall, exposed tanks added a quirky architectural touch, while the pull mechanism made flushing an interactive experience. Modern plumbing made them rare, but anyone who used one remembers the satisfying tug and the loud, thorough flush. 9. Icebox refrigerators. Before the hum of modern fridges, iceboxes were the solution to keeping food fresh. Large blocks of ice sat in compartments, slowly melting while cooling the storage area. Families would trade ice deliveries weekly, creating small rituals around mealtime preparation. Electric refrigerators eventually replaced ice boxes, but the nostalgia of weekly ice delivery and the crisp chill it provided lingers. 10. Milk delivery trucks. Door-to-door milk delivery was once a morning ritual. The clinking of glass bottles on porches and the cheerful wave of the milkman brought daily life to neighborhoods. Glass bottles were collected, washed, and reused, adding a touch of sustainability to the routine. The rise of supermarkets and packaged milk ended the tradition, yet many remember the simple joy of opening the fridge to fresh milk each day. 11. Roller skating rinks. Weekends were incomplete without roller skating rinks, buzzing with music, laughter, and rhythmic wheels on polished wood. Teens and families would glide under disco lights, forming friendships and competing in friendly races. The social and recreational aspect made skating rinks community hubs. Video games and modern gyms eventually drew crowds away, but the memory of jingling skates and cheesy 70s tunes lives on. 12. Soda fountains. Soda fountains weren't just about fizzy drinks, they were gathering spots. Teens would crowd around chrome counters, enjoying floats, sundaes, and sodas while chatting with friends. These establishments thrived in the mid-20th century, but gradually faded as fast food chains and bottled drinks took over. Still, the clink of glasses, the frothy floats, and the social energy are unforgettable. 13. Manual typewriters. Before keyboards and touchscreens, typewriters were the tools of writers, students, and office workers. Each key pressed required intention, producing satisfying clicks and a rhythmic cadence. The physicality of typing was meditative, yet modern computers replaced them for speed and convenience. Those who learned on typewriters often recall the unique charm and discipline it taught. 14. Penny candy stores. A single penny could buy a treat, and kids would save allowance coins to fill paper bags with sweet delights. These stores were magical, lined with jars of colorful candies and small toys. They nurtured anticipation, patience, and simple joy. The rise of packaged supermarkets ended the golden era of penny candy, but memories of sticky fingers and sugary smiles remain. 15. Soda pop caps and collectibles. Soda bottle caps once held more than just a seal. They were collectible treasures. Kids would trade, stack, and display them, sometimes even playing games with the colorful metal discs. These small tokens of daily life connected friends and created lasting memories. Modern twist-offs and plastic caps erased the collectible aspect, leaving only nostalgia for a tiny, shiny piece of fun. 16. Soda shop jukeboxes. While we covered diner jukeboxes earlier, small-town soda shops had their own magic. Teens would gather around neon-lit machines, listening to the latest hits while sipping milkshakes and sharing stories. It was more than music. It was a meeting place, a social hub. As home stereos became popular, these intimate music spots slowly vanished, leaving behind only the glow of nostalgia. 17. Roller disco parties. Before clubs and EDM, there were roller discos. Kids and teens would show off their skating moves under disco lights, spinning to funky tracks. It was a combination of exercise, music, and social fun all in one. With the decline of roller rinks and the rise of video games, roller discos faded, but memories of grooving on wheels linger. 18. Beaded curtains. Beaded curtains once separated rooms in homes and shops, adding a touch of whimsy and color. They clicked and clacked as people passed through, creating a playful, musical ambiance. Popular in the 1960s and 70s, they slowly disappeared as modern doors, walls, and minimalism took over. Yet, anyone who grew up with them remembers the satisfying swish and jingling charm. 19. Lava lamps. Lava lamps weren't just lights, they were hypnotic pieces of art. Watching the wax blobs rise and fall felt almost meditative, perfect for bedrooms and lounges. They became an icon of 1960s and 70s counterculture, representing creativity and style. As interior design evolved, lava lamps were pushed aside, but their groovy movement remains unforgettable. 20. Punch card computers. Before touchscreens and laptops, computers were massive and required punch cards for data input. Each card held instructions, and one wrong hole could ruin a batch of work. These machines were groundbreaking for their time, but eventually became obsolete with modern, user-friendly computers. For tech enthusiasts, they symbolize the early spirit of innovation. 21st. Classic movie matinees. Weekday or Saturday matinees were a ritual for families and kids. Affordable tickets, popcorn in hand, watching black and white or early color films. It was simple joy. Matinees introduced generations to superheroes, adventure tales, and family comedies. Television and streaming slowly replaced the charm, yet the excitement of walking into a theater for a special morning show lives on. 22. Pinball machines. The arcade wouldn't be complete without pinball machines. Players leaned over slanted glass cabinets, flicking flippers and chasing high scores. Each game was a mix of skill, chance, and obsession. With the rise of video games and home consoles, pinball cabinets disappeared from many arcades, though enthusiasts still keep them alive today. 23. Ice cream trucks. Nothing signaled summer like the jingle of an ice cream truck rolling down the street. Kids ran out of homes and yards, chasing their favorite frozen treats. These mobile shops were seasonal joys and neighborhood highlights. Larger supermarkets and frozen desserts in stores reduced their prevalence, but the sweet memories remain. 24. Telephone booths. Before cell phones, telephone booths were everywhere. Need to call someone in a hurry? Step inside a red or glass-paneled booth and drop a coin. They were iconic meeting points and symbols of urban life. As mobile phones took over, booths vanished, leaving nostalgia for the sound of coins and the click of the door. 25. Soda glass bottles. Soda wasn't always in plastic. Glass bottles with twist-off or pop-top caps were cherished for their taste and feel. Kids often collected the bottles or used them in games. Convenience and mass production of plastic eventually replaced them, but the clink of glass and the satisfying pop of a bottle opening are unforgettable. 26. Classic arcade tokens. Coins had their place, but arcade tokens made gaming feel special. Players exchanged quarters for unique, colorful tokens, creating a sense of belonging and ritual. They represented access, fun, and small victories. Modern arcades with card systems ended this tactile joy, but old-school gamers remember the jingling pouches of tokens with fondness. 27. Flip phones. Before smartphones dominated, flip phones were compact, fun, and satisfying to use. There was something joyful in snapping them open and closed. Texting, calling, and even simple games made them daily companions. Touchscreen tech phased them out, but their iconic design and nostalgia live on for those who first experienced mobile freedom. 28. 8-track tapes. Music in the 1970s wasn't always on vinyl. 8-track tapes gave mobility, allowing people to play albums in their cars or portable players. The magnetic tapes created a unique sound experience, often with minor glitches that became part of the charm. Compact cassettes and digital formats eventually replaced them, yet audiophiles remember the unmistakable 8-track hum. 29. Pop-up bookstores. Before online shopping, pop-up bookstores brought literature and imagination to local fairs and festivals. Children and adults would explore colorful pages, discovering stories in unexpected places. They encouraged curiosity and literacy in a personal way. As chain bookstores and digital shopping rose, these pop-up treasures became rarer, leaving cherished memories for readers. 30. Classic board games. Family game nights were sacred, and classic board games ruled. From Monopoly and Clue to Sorry, and the Game of Life, these games brought laughter, strategy, and bonding. Some editions had unique artwork or pieces now long forgotten. Video games eventually competed for attention, but the tactile joy of rolling dice and moving pieces remains timeless. 31. Milkshake malt shops. There was a time when milkshake malt shops were the ultimate hangout spots. Teens and families would gather to sip thick, creamy shakes topped with whipped cream and a cherry. These shops were social hubs, often with checkered floors, neon signs, and jukeboxes playing hits. As fast food chains expanded, the charm of these small malt shops began to fade, but the memory of that frothy, sweet treat remains irresistible. 32. Classic drive-through windows. Long before apps and digital ordering, drive-through windows were an innovation in convenience. Cars would line up, and servers would hand over burgers, fries, and drinks with a friendly smile. The concept brought speed, novelty, and a sense of modernity to dining. Today, the digital age has transformed the experience, but the nostalgia of waving to the server through glass is unforgettable. 33. Penny arcade games. Penny arcades were magical. Kids and teens could play pinball, skee-ball, or simple mechanical games with just a penny. The thrill of winning tickets, prizes, or simply beating a high score was tangible and exciting. Modern video games and digital arcades eventually replaced them, but the joy of tossing a coin and testing your skill is a cherished memory. 34. Classic roller coasters. Wooden roller coasters defined amusement parks in the early and mid-20th century. The creak of the wooden tracks, the wind in your face, and the screams of joy made each ride unforgettable. Steel and modern coasters changed the landscape, but those wooden giants hold a nostalgic place in hearts of thrill seekers. 35. Hand crank ice cream makers. Making ice cream at home wasn't just a treat, it was a family event. Kids and adults would take turns cranking handles, laughing as the mixture slowly froze. The ritual created anticipation and togetherness. Electric mixers and store-bought ice cream simplified life, but the hands-on experience remains a sweet memory. 36. Penny farthing bicycles. The giant-wheeled penny farthing bicycles were both daring and stylish. Riders perched high above the ground, enjoying freedom and novelty. Popular in the late 19th century, these bikes eventually gave way to safety bicycles with equal-sized wheels. Today, they're mostly museum pieces, but the audacious spirit they carried is still admired. 37. Classic soda bottling plants. Soda wasn't just a drink, it was a production marvel. Small bottling plants filled glass bottles, often by hand or with simple machinery, making the beverage fresh and local. Workers and communities took pride in the craft. Automation and corporate consolidation phased out many local plants, but the taste and pride they produced linger in memory. 38. Vintage postcards. Before Instagram, postcards captured and shared memories. Vibrant illustrations or scenic photos were sent to friends and family, carrying stories, greetings, and adventures. Each card was personal, often tucked into journals or displayed on mantels. Email and social media replaced them, but vintage postcards remain collectible treasures and glimpses into the past. 39. Classic ice cream parlors, separate from malt shops. Ice cream parlors were family-friendly havens. Hand-dipped cones, sundaes, and banana splits made them destinations of joy. The ambiance, checkered floors, glass display cases, and soda jerks added to the charm. As chain dessert shops spread, local parlors dwindled, but memories of summer afternoons filled with laughter and cold treats remain vivid. 40. Silent film projectors. Before talkies and widescreen cinema, silent film projectors brought black and white stories to life. The flicker of light, the whirring sound, and live piano accompaniments created magic in small theaters. These projectors required skill and patience, and each screening was an event. As sound and color films took over, silent projectors disappeared, yet the nostalgia of that early cinematic charm endures. 41. Classic comic book stands. Before digital comics, local newsstands or corner shops carried stacks of colorful comic books. Kids would save allowance to grab the latest superhero adventures or funny strips. These stands weren't just shops, they were portals to imagination, offering excitement and wonder at every turn of a page. As digital media and bookstores grew, these iconic stands became rare, but the thrill of holding a freshly printed comic lives on. 42. Soda crates. Glass soda bottles weren't just carried individually, they came in crates, often stacked and shared among neighbors. These crates symbolized community, sharing, and everyday rituals. Kids would sometimes play games with empty crates, stacking or rolling them. Plastic packaging and convenience stores eventually replaced them, but those clattering crates remain a vivid memory of neighborhood life. 43. Penny arcade prize counters. Penny arcades often had counters with small toys, trinkets, and novelties you could trade tickets for. Winning a tiny prize, be it a spinning top, a miniature car, or a sticker, felt monumental. These counters created anticipation, excitement, and joy. Modern arcades with digital rewards took away the tactile thrill, but memories of rushing to the counter with tickets in hand remain timeless. 44. Old-fashioned soda. Bottling machines. Watching soda being bottled was an art. Large machines filled, capped, and labeled bottles in rhythmic harmony. The process fascinated children and adults alike, making the drink feel special before it reached your hands. Mass production and automation made such small-scale machines obsolete, but the mechanical dance and hiss of carbonation remain unforgettable. 45. Classic penny toys. Small metal or tin toys, sold for just a penny, were a childhood delight. They required imagination to bring to life, sparking creativity and play. Over time, cheap plastic toys and mass production replaced these charming trinkets. Yet, collectors and nostalgic adults still recall the simple joy of a tiny toy car or a wind-up figure in their palm. 46. Old radio variety shows. Before television, families would gather around radios for evening entertainment. Variety shows offered comedy, drama, and music, creating shared experiences across households. These shows shaped imagination and storytelling skills, connecting communities through sound. Television eventually replaced them, but the magic of voices, suspense, and laughter echo in memory. 47. Hand crank radios. During emergencies or camping trips, hand crank radios were lifelines. A few twists of the handle powered communication, news, or music. They symbolized ingenuity, independence, and self-reliance. Modern battery and solar-powered devices replaced them, but the tactile effort and anticipation of hearing static turn into voices is still fondly remembered. 48. Classic mechanical pencil sharpeners. Every classroom had them. Metal, wall-mounted pencil sharpeners that clicked and whirred. Students lined up to sharpen pencils, often laughing at the occasional mishap. They were small, yet vital pieces of school life. Electric sharpeners made them less common, but the rhythmic sound and tactile action remain a nostalgic memory. 49. Drive-in ice cream. Stands, separate from malt shops and ice cream parlors. Drive-in stands offered sweet treats without leaving your car. Servers on roller skates would deliver sundaes, shakes, and cones to your window. The novelty, convenience, and charm made them community favorites. As car culture evolved and chains spread, these stands faded, but the joy of summer ice cream delivered on wheels lives on in memory. 50. Classic penny arcade games. To wrap it all up, nothing captures the essence of nostalgia like penny arcade games. Simple, tactile, and endlessly fun, they offered joy, competition, and camaraderie for all ages. They remind us of a time when entertainment was straightforward, magical, and shared in person. Their disappearance doesn't erase the laughter, the excitement, or the thrill of chasing a high score with friends. And there you have it, 50 treasures, 50 memories, and countless stories that remind us why the past is worth cherishing. We made this video as a thank you for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers, but the truth is, this channel wouldn't exist without you. Your support, your memories, and your love for nostalgia make Retro Nest more than just a channel. It's a family. So if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, give it a like, share your favorite treasure in the comments, and subscribe to keep the journey going. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for 1,000, and here's to the next chapter together.